Garoppolo. Thrown down. Brian Burns gets there. Spider-Man. What a pass rush by Burns. See how quickly he got to the edge and got
This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav and Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you Bleav? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available in your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcast on Twitter.
And welcome to a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Sports Illustrated beat writer Schuyler, Callihan, and Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart. You can catch us every Tuesday here on the Bleav Podcast Network. You can catch the video live at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Shout out to everybody that's joined us over the past couple of weeks. It's been a rough year for the Carolina Panthers. 1-8 now after a 16-13 loss to the Chicago Bears on Thursday, which feels like a lifetime ago at this point. We'll get into not so much the game because that's been a while now since that game was played. We'll look forward towards the Dallas Cowboy game this upcoming Sunday. And we'll just kind of open it up here because we're at the halfway point of the season, and it feels like people are going to have some things to get off their chest. So I want to allow the fan base to be able to do that, and we're the place to do that live. So if you got questions about anything that's been going on or questions about what might happen going forward, here's the place where you can go in. Type your comments in underneath the Facebook page or underneath the YouTube video, and we'll answer it on the air. Of course, tell them why you're mad. If you got anything like that out there, we'll go around the NFL if we've got enough time. Lots of different storylines. I think the Bills are imploding right now. Just questions all around. You realize Baker Mayfield has thrown for like 21 touchdowns and like 5 interceptions for Tampa Bay like so far this season. Like maybe it's us, maybe we're that part of the relationship where it's like, it's not them. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's the Panthers. Maybe we're the ones that are like not knowing what we're doing. So I think this is our come to Jesus moment this week on the Bleav in Panthers podcast, where we kind of decide, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So we'll get to all that and much more here on this Tuesday morning. You got comments coming in already. Haskell Shelton on LinkedIn checking in. I am not the Twitter mob and could be patient. However, at what point can we have a real conversation that's entirely possible we drafted the wrong quarterback? Off my chest now. We'll get to that too, because CJ Stroud's making that conversation really hard. Like really hard. I'm starting to think our game against them was aberration more than anything else, because everything else before that and after that, it's been the CJ Stroud. I'm seeing him in MVP talk. Like, this is insane. So we'll get to that too.
That man playing lights out right now.
It's going crazy, man. So we'll get to all that. Before we go any further, though, a word from our sponsors over at BetOnline. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling, and college basketball is ready to roll as well. BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting actions and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your #1 source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport available at your fingertips, with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head over to BetOnline today. Remember to use our promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And normally we would start with the box score, but we're not going to do that. Bears defeated the Panthers 16-13. Eddie Pinheiro got trotted out there for a 59-yard field goal after pretty much himself and everybody on the team told them that he did not have the leg for that. They'd send him out there anyway, and he was short. So that's how the game ended. Kind of describes the season up to this point. Panther Pickle in the comment section says, I don't think Thomas Brown is ready to be an OC, or at least the offensive system we are running doesn't fit the personnel we have, and that isn't the OC's job. I'm glad Panther Pickle started us there, because that's where I wanted to start. Guys, does it feel like they're trying to run an offense with pieces that don't fit the offense they're trying to run? Like, that's what it's starting to feel like now. Yeah. Like that they're putting it on top of us here.
It goes back to what we've been saying. That reset button hurts, especially when you don't have the players that you need to really run an offense or a defense or a special teams unit the way you want it to be ran. Clearly, you have some pieces that, stuck around from last year's Panthers team that was built different. You saw Wilkes towards the end of the year, defensive-minded coach, where he believes in run the ball, offensive line block, running backs run hard, receivers make a block that will spring the running back, right? And when we have to pass, we'll pass. Play action, get it downfield. This team was built for that because that's what the majority of the players are on this team right now, because it's only a year out from last year. And now you have a new scheme, you have new coaching staff, new mindset, the reset button. And what that means is you have players at depth that aren't necessarily probably the guys made for what this coaching staff wants to achieve moving forward, and how they want to describe themselves as a unit. And we're seeing that play out. I feel Bryce Young, he's pretty much, we're watching him being thrown out into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the team is built for his success, and I think it's obvious. And I think right now we're experiencing that, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
It's excruciating. It feels like a chore. Like it,
because in the back of your mind, this is this way because we just don't have all the pieces right now. And you want to say to yourself, time will tell, but people tired. We've been dealing with this with other coaches. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, what if this? What if that? What if we kept, this coach or that coach? Like, no one really knows. So it's we are where we are with our record. And the only thing you can do right now to make yourself feel better is point the finger. But I'm going to tell you that it ain't going to make you feel better. Pointing the finger don't make anyone feel better. And if you continue to do that, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day, because one day people are going to look up these receipts and you're going to be the guy, just like I'm the guy right now that talked about them Dallas Cowboys. I talked bad about them Cowboys early in the season.
He was on bad. I was like, where's this hate?
They still ain't going to win no Super Bowl. But I can tell you what, they are not the Carolina Panthers.
No. The one thing all year I was saying, I was like, man, we don't look good, but at least we're not the Bears. Like, that was literally what I was saying out loud, like online, social media. Like, well, at least we're not the Bears. We're not Bears bad. We're not Broncos bad.
Right.
We are.
The Bears and the Broncos are. The Bears and the Broncos are pretty good. The Broncos took advantage of a poor executed Bills offense. Jesus Christ.
The Bills don't deserve to go to the playoffs. Like, after that.
Man, I got a lot. We could get to this later, but I'll tell you why I'm mad about that game.
Schuyler, before I hit the video clip of Frank Reich from yesterday, have you piggyback behind Stu. What are your initial thoughts here? We're 9 games in, 10 weeks into the season. We're at the halfway point. From what you've seen, does it feel like this is working? Because it doesn't really feel like it's working, and it's starting to feel like the building is starting to realize it too, that this ain't working. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it for weeks. I mean, how this is like a square peg in a round hole with these offensive linemen, and we go back all the way to the spring, and I think there's a lot of people within the fan base that were trying to talk themselves into DJ Chark and Adam Thielen being good enough. Right. And that Terrace Marshall was going to make this huge step in year 3 because now he's got actual coaching. Right. And I was one of the few, at least on Terrace Marshall, that was like, let's pump the brakes a little bit because he still hasn't proven anything. And we've talked about him for 2 seasons now where he's shown flashes and just goes away. And I think that's one of the biggest storylines is Terrace Marshall not stepping up and being the player we all thought he would be by year 3. That's why the trade request popped up. He's not in the lineup much. He's not a factor, and that's a big problem. So you don't have the help at receivers. I think me and Stu went deep on the O-line scheme thing a couple of weeks ago about how this is, a team that's running completely different schemes from what they did a year ago. And it's not that these guys are bad offensive linemen, in my opinion. I think they're just really good at what they do well, And that's what they did last year was it catered to their strengths. This year, they're being asked to
down your throat.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder if that's
in between tackles and just get downhill. And I think that's why you're seeing the struggles now, because they're being asked to do something that they're not typically good at doing. And it's getting to a point where you're banging your head against a wall because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and nothing's changing. And to whoever said the thing about Thomas Brown, and I've been thinking about this. I hate to be this like brutally honest, but if I'm Frank Reich, I don't know that my first offensive coordinator at a new job is going to be somebody that has never had a history of calling plays, even if you know you're going to be calling the plays to start. If you want to transition that eventually, that's got to be somebody that you have trust in, that has had experience doing it before. And that's no knock on Thomas Brown. I think he's going to be a great coach. I think he's head coach material. But he hasn't had that experience yet, and I don't know that I would have made him that guy in year one. The other thing I want to say about the coaching staff is, too, like, we've talked about this staff being an all-star staff, right? Like, there's so much experience. There's so much history with these guys having success. But sometimes when you formulate these all-star coaching staffs or all-star rosters like we see in the NBA, right? Like the Lakers, they try to put this monster roster together, and it just doesn't work.
Yep.
Because you're coming from different backgrounds, different philosophies. And just because you have a lot of success in the past from different areas doesn't mean it's going to all come together. You have to have some sort of background where you're on the same page. And that's just not what this coaching staff looks like they're on right now. They look like they're on completely different chapters of the same book. And until they get on that same chapter, it's going to look like the same thing we've seen the first 9 weeks.
I'm trying to figure out how to, because I'm not mad. I'm really.
It's a disappointment is what it is.
Yeah. I'm really disappointed because we came into this season, we talked about it. We came to this season, again, this is my 4th season hosting Bleav in Panthers, Stu's 2nd season, Schuyler's 3rd season. And this is the first year where we came into it with hope. Like, we literally had hope for the season that we were going to actually be relevant, like, throughout the year, and not for like dumb coaching mistakes or losses we shouldn't have took, or stuff that we normally get put out there for. We were like, we're gonna be in the thick of things. We got some stuff together. This might work. And I'm starting to hear some of the same things, that not the same things, but the same tone that Matt Rule had towards the end of his tenure here, coming from Frank Reich. He sounds defeated, like in the press conferences. We're halfway through the season, and he literally sounds defeated, like he knows it's around the corner. Like, this is not guaranteed. He's not guaranteed a job here through the year. Like, this can happen mid-season. Like, it feels like he knows that. And this is a video I pulled from Twitter. Sheena Quick from Fox Charlotte, great Carolina Panthers beat reporter. She caught this video of Frank Reich at the press conference yesterday, where she asked him about whether or not this was a run smash type football team. Let me just play the audio here for you, and then we'll react to it.
Yeah, and it just goes to, and again, I don't want to, say everything that we're trying to do schematically, but in the big picture, I will say this: we want to be a physical football team who can run the ball on their own terms. Do we want to be smash mouth football, under center, power? No, that's not who we're trying to be. We're not trying to be that. So, yeah, and it just goes to, and again,
just get that off my screen. Thoughts on this, because my first thought when I saw it, I was actually in the car, and my first thought when I saw it, I banged on the thing, and I'm like, dang it, Frank. Come on, Frank. Like, what are you doing, Frank? Like, you kept the whole offensive line from last year. One of the few bright spots we had was the offensive line. We're in here talking about the top 10 unit. You kept the offensive line coach, James Campion. And you said it in your opening press conference about how the offensive line, we needed to keep them together because we recognized what they can do and their strong point of this team, right? If that's the case, why are you not letting them do what they do? Why are you not letting them run power? It made me think of the timeline in terms of how we lost Donta Foreman. They offered Foreman first before they went and signed Miles Sanders. Foreman said no and left. And it makes me wonder if Foreman said no because he was told of how they were going to run the football, like the scheme, and it didn't fit his style. So he's like, no, I'm going to go someplace else. They go out and find Miles Sanders, and they give him the money instead. Like, people kind of have the timeline conflicted in terms of they think Sanders came and then Foreman left because he came. No, I went back to look. Foreman got offered his deal first, and it was more than the $2 million for 1 year they got from Chicago. So he took less money.
Desmond over here looking CSI. Boy, you went over there and did some research.
Because I don't want to come in and be like, I want Frank Reich gone unless I know for sure I want Frank Reich gone. You know what I mean? And I've been holding on for the longest, like, no, we got to let this work. We got to let this work. Like, we can't just stop it in the middle and start all over again, because we've done that a couple of times. But I don't know if I've got the patience to wait 2 years to see if this is going to work. They're going to destroy Bryce Young for starters. And I feel like we're going to start losing players. Like, it's going to get to the point where, like, Brian Burns doesn't want to be here. Like, has he had a winning season since he's been here?
I know he hasn't been to the playoffs, so no, I don't think so.
I mean, I think DJ Moore was the same way. So, I mean, it starts to get to a point where it's like, okay, how much of blame do you put on the owner, David Tepper, and how much blame do you put on Frank Reich? Because this is his idea. Like, this is how he got the job. He came in with this grand plan of what he was going to do, did all that, and they've got one win to show for it in 10 weeks. Like,
I mean, what sucks about this, I hate it for Frank. I hate it for the whole coaching staff. I hate it for everybody because, I mean, you have an opportunity of a lifetime to come together with, like, really good men at the end of the day, and have plans to be, better than you were last year, and, like, being able to be in a positive growth mode. And right now, it's zeroed in right now. Like, the defense is playing good enough to win games.
Yeah, they really are.
Teams is playing good enough to win games. It's coming down to, I mean, shoot, the only touchdown we had last week was return.
The return.
Return, yeah.
So special teams, those are elements of a game, of a team that you need to rise to the occasion. And what's been happening is our offense is at a standstill. If you can't score in this league, we just needed one touchdown. You know what I'm saying? So
against a Tyler Baggett or whatever his name was, like,
yeah,
we made him look pretty good. Baggett, how do you say it?
Tyson Bagent.
And like, don't get me wrong, like, you're gonna have every team's gonna have a game where you just can't work it. You might have two of those games where you just can't work it, and the defense comes and plays lights out, and you sneak out of there with a win, But we've had multiple games that have been this way. And so now when we're, asking, fans are going to ask questions. I mean, people out here trying to go protest.
Yo, did you see that? The March on Mint or whatever it was supposed to be.
I'm just like, hold up, man. Look, everybody relax. Stay at home, first of all. Do not come out your house for all this, because you're gonna be protesting and ain't nothing gonna happen. Ain't no change gonna happen. There's other things that you could put it this way. There's way more important things going on in this world for you to go protest. Carolina Panthers ain't one of those things, baby.
What was going to happen? Like, I told my wife, I was like, because I saw the picture on Twitter, like them calling, March on Mint, and, bringing tiki torches and
then you're not gonna have a brother. Listen, there's a whole thing.
No,
you ain't gonna have a picture of a brother with dreads being being your, like,
that was my thought too.
Guy.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening?
Nah,
like,
don't put us out there like that.
This wasn't our idea.
People out there like that. This is you.
Because I saw one of the threads and they were like, I'll bring the tiki torches. I'll bring the pitchforks and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what's supposed to be the end game here? Like, what do you think?
Go watch the news and go figure out something else to put your time and effort toward.
Oh my God. So the Panther fans have just they haven't checked out.
But
I
get it though. I get your frustration, but just stay at home. Eat some Cheetos.
What would be more of a what would be more telling is what happens on Sunday. Is if you just let the Cowboys fans take over. If that's the way you want to protest, just don't show up to the game. Give all your tickets to Cowboys fans.
And that's what happened
last year.
That's
going to happen anyway.
Yeah, that happened last year.
And how I feel as a player, please show up to the game.
They
We
need you.
Please,
Please
we
come
need
in there.
all the Panther fans to show up, no matter what, man. Like, listen, I remember the days 2-14. Well, we lost to the Browns, man. It was
2010.
bad. It was and we were 2-14. But that last game, Carolina Panther fans was in there rocking. Okay, like it was the holidays. They was glad to be outside.
Yeah.
The sunshine was shining. I mean, blue skies, cold as heck, but hey, they out there. Just show up, man. Just like you, it's all going to pay off in the end. Like positive vibes somehow do
I'm glad you brought that
their
up,
way
Stu.
into situations that don't seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But there it is.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually wanted to ask you about that because you've been a part of a season like this. Like how mentally taxing is it to show up to work every single day knowing you're out of the playoff race and there's really nothing at the end of the tunnel except for next season?
Well, this is how I view things. This is how I view a lot of things. Like you show up to something, you 100% in, no matter what. And I can tell you this. There's players that played on the worst teams in history of football, but they're showing up and playing because they want to win. These guys are trained to win games. Now, the mindset, when you're 2-13, it's the last game of the year. Believe it or not, you might be playing harder than you played all season because who's going to be here next year? Are you going to be part of the recipe?
Yeah.
To greatness, to being better? Are you going to be part of that recipe? So you got to put that on film. So everything you put on film during these moments, during these hours, please believe that eye in the sky is watching because we want to know who's fading out and who is who's fading out and who isn't. And so, as a player, I need y'all in the fan. I need y'all in the bank, like riding for me. Don't ride in the sense of, man, y'all playing trash. Like, go and support the players that you like are in love with.
The franchise. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, go and like participate and be there because you never know, man. Like a kicker could be out there kicking, and you could be the person that's doing the loud screech, and he hears it and he just pulls it left, and you can be that guy. You can feel like he was that guy that made him pull it left.
And you could also be the guy that, or not be the guy, but you could be there for when the whole thing turns around. You could be there for that moment and say, hey, I was there for that. You never know.
Yeah.
I was going to say 2000, was it 2006? I think it was 2006. It was after the Steve Smith year where he was like number one catches, touchdowns, yards, or whatever, like tore up the league. We got to the NFC Championship game. That was 2005. So, 2006, he broke his leg opening night, and he's out for the season. And we went on like a 1-7 skid or something like that to start the year. And it was just like, it just felt bad. But then they turned it around and won like the last 5 or 6 games and was flirting with the playoffs at the very end of it. And it was just Jake Delhomme and Moose Muhammad basically was the entire offense, like 2006, just like trying to get us there. And I'm not saying we can do that with this team because that team had, well, for starters, that team had John Fox as the head coach, and they had some defense, like some dudes on defense also. So I don't know if we can do that because we don't have the depth or the dudes. Like we don't have the number of dudes that team had to turn it around. But some of that falls back on the coach, Willie Smith, saying Frank Reich hired the coaching staff, installed the offensive plan, selected the players. He's had the draft, OTAs, training camp, and he's only won 1 game. Offensive-minded coach is BS. And I was thinking about that too. Every time we watch the Panthers on offense, it just looks like everything is so hard. Like everything is so hard for them to actually do, like the simplest things. And then I'll watch some other teams play, and they're just moving the ball with ease, or just, and it could be random to you. It just feels like it's just us. Like whatever we're trying to do on offense just isn't working. And I was trying to remember why I liked Bryce in the first place. Well, I went and looked at film on him before we drafted him. They're not running Bryce the way he was being ran at Alabama. Like at Alabama, it felt like it was more, not necessarily freestyle, but it felt like it was more like RPO and it was more allowing Bryce
It
to
seems
be
more structured here.
Yeah, like he doesn't have room to really kind of innovate inside this offense. Like at Alabama, it felt like he had a chance to kind of play with it after the first couple of seconds. Like if I see something develop after the initial play, I've got the ability to go with that. It feels like here, if he doesn't see it on that first read or whatever it is, he's been told throw it away or just get rid of it or whatever. But don't try to force something someplace where he told you not to go. It's limiting the offense, and defenses are picking up on it. So now defenses are like, well, he's not a threat to run the ball. So, really none of them are. So we're going to load the box just in case. He's not going to throw it downfield. He doesn't throw it further than 15, 20 yards by design. So why are we going to fall all the way back? We're just going to push everything up front and just make every single thing you do hard to do in a 10-yard radius pretty much. And the Panthers never counterattack. And that's the thing I don't understand too with what you guys said with the offensive minds on the staff. Maybe we overrated the Jim Caldwells and the Thomas Browns and those on the staff. What do you think the odds are of Frank Reich making it out of November as the Panthers head coach? Because one of the things we did say when he did put the staff together, I do remember saying it felt like them hiring Thomas Brown and Ejiro Evero were fail safes. Like in case something went horribly wrong, and Frank Reich just wasn't the dude. You've got an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator sitting there that are in their 30s or whatever that just interviewed for head coaching jobs before we gave them this. They're one of the highest paid assistant head coaches in the league. That's why they came here. And it feels like Tepper would be more prone to let Reich go so he can keep one of them as interim and see how they do before he would move forward to my preferred choice, Jim Harbaugh, which we'll get to in just a sec because I'm back on my stuff again. I almost cursed on here. I'm back on it again. I'm back on the Jim Harbaugh train. We'll be on it in a second. But what do you guys think of the odds? Let's say they lose to the Cowboys. Let's say they lose by 20, and it's at home. And
he won't see Tuesday potentially. Or
yeah, and then I don't even know who we have after that.
Tennessee's next week, I think.
God,
I don't think that the peace will be disturbed like that, man. Like I think in our minds and off of history, it's the easier thing to say.
Yeah.
With frustrations.
You think he might finish?
I think he'll finish the season.
What if? Now, I know this is a major hypothetical, but what if they get skunked on Sunday, like 49-0, no points?
What was that 49ers score again? What happened? What was the score in the 49er game last year? It was bad. I
think it was like 38-10, maybe, or something
they were
like that.
35-0 at the half, or something crazy like that. And then the 49ers kind of let off the gas in the second half, but they were having a party at that point in BOA.
37-15.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
My boy Mike Davis after coach's staff have a second year to adjust. I think I've gotten to the point. I think you guys mentioned this last week with Scott Fitterer, or it might be one of a billion other shows I've been on the past couple of weeks trying to talk about the Panthers. Scott Fitterer has gotten to the point now with me where I go back and think about all the stuff he's done over the past 4 years, even when Matt Rule was here, and then he's had 2 years without Matt Rule here. All the draft picks that have been traded away, all the players that have been traded away. When he said the whole thing about parachuting a quarterback in, like he felt like we had a team where you could parachute a quarterback in and go. If I'm not mistaken, we still had Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore when he made those comments. So technically, he was right. Like then, what we didn't expect was that they would trade those pieces off. And I keep coming back to the same thing. Why did we trade off Christian McCaffrey? And when we did it, like had already extended him. Why did we trade him off?
If you think about it, there's no chance in hell that they even get Bryce if they don't get those picks. But he also said it after they made the pick for Bryce.
Yeah, he did.
So that's why I think Scott may be more in danger here. And I really have no idea. It's hard to tell. They keep everything close to the vest. But when you look at how this team was built, like, of course, you're not going to have the depth in year one of a new coaching staff. And you're going to have guys that don't fit exactly your scheme. Like, that's natural. That's going to be with every coaching change that you have. If they make another one this offseason, it's going to be the same thing. But you still have to go out and your job is to find guys, or at least enough key guys, the guys that are going to be playing the most snaps, to fit what you do schematically, offensively, and defensively. defensively, they didn't really make much of a change. A lot of the guys that were on that side of the ball were already in place last year. Offense, where you saw the major turnover, and to me, that's where you completely whiff, because if you completely change the outlook of your offensive roster and the offensive staff, you should be able to marry those two things together, not have it be so far apart. And I don't understand, like you guys said, like, how do you commit to this type of playing style, but yet keep the offensive line that ran a completely different offense last year? If you're going to make that switch, you got to make that switch. The only thing I could think of is they thought, well, we're not going to go and revamp this whole offensive line in one off season, and this is the best we can work with. Maybe we can just tweak their game a little bit to where it can work for a year, and then we can revisit it next off season. Well, the problem is you may not get the next off season.
And another thing too, I mean, they've had half a year to see it doesn't work. Like, they should have switched this up by now. It wouldn't be hard. I mean, literally, this is what happened last year. Wilkes switched it when he became interim head coach. He switched to this, so it's not like they can't switch to it. But now they don't have the personnel to really run it because they ran Deonta Foreman out of town.
And you have so many different voices in that coaching staff. I mean, it's one. I think it's the largest coaching staff I thought I saw in the entire league.
Wow.
When you have that many voices, you've got so many different philosophies. Like, Frank comes from a spread offensive background. Thomas Brown comes from that eye candy motion offense that likes to window dress and do crazy things pre-snap. And then you have James Campen, who worked with that downhill power offensive run game last year. It's a little bit of everything. And to marry those three things together, that's a tough chore.
Donald Duck says, when I was saying think about all the stuff we gave away, he said, well, to gain back draft capital that we traded away during the Rule and Fitterer era, hence the CMAC trade, all for a bag of peanuts, basically. That's the thing that's got me. We didn't get a first-round pick out of trading away Christian McCaffrey, and he's an MVP candidate. Literally, like, he's probably one of the front runners.
Yeah, he's making historical movement right
and
now.
we didn't get a first for him. Like we didn't even get a first. And then more.
The 3 picks that you got in return for Christian, 2 of them are now playing for Pittsburgh because they're in that trade to move up in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
The other is DJ Johnson, who has not made a scratch on this defense.
And then you trade away your number 1 wide receiver just to get up 8 spots to 1 when
to potentially mess it up.
To potentially
get the wrong guy.
Yeah, because you weren't even sure. You weren't completely sure. I'm starting to look at it like, and Mike says the same thing here. In hindsight, might not have traded up for Bryce and been able to select Caleb Williams this year, keep picks and more. I think I would have rather had Drake May over Caleb Williams. But besides that, how much different would this team look if they hadn't drafted a quarterback this year, still had DJ Moore, and just brought in Andy Dalton to be the same type of bridge quarterback they've been doing the past 2-3 years? Like, just with a different coaching regime. Andy Dalton in this offense probably would have been just fine. And then you wait a year, you build your asset, you keep your number 1 receiver you just extended. You just extended DJ Moore, and you traded him away. For what? To get Bryce Young here to throw to who? You just traded away everyone. So that's Scott Fitterer, right? Like, that's Scott Fitterer. Like, he had his hand on all of that, and that was after Matt Rule was gone. Rule was gone when they traded McCaffrey. Rule was gone when they traded Moore. Rule was gone for all this. And, like, you can't blame him. Fitterer took over. So it's like, I see the anger.
I know it was a couple of years ago too. And Rule was here, but you mean he didn't pay Hassan Reddick. I mean, I know he wanted to go to Philly because that's where he played at Temple and he wanted to go to Super Bowl.
Went to the Super Bowl.
He did. He made the right choice.
But like, if you were serious about becoming a contender, you're going to pay that man his money. And now we're seeing some switch play with Burns, and it's just like, yeah.
You've turned down the Rams twice now. They've come sniffing around, offering first-round picks for Brian Burns, and you've said no politely both times. Yet you're far away in negotiations with Brian Burns.
Did you see the report that came out earlier this week about who they tried to trade for?
Yeah, Montez Sweat,
Devontae Adams, and T. Higgins.
Now I wonder if those teams are like, nah, we're good because we don't see anything over there that we won't. So why are we gonna trade with you? You already traded away all your picks or whatever.
They're not gonna wait 2 drafts to get a first
we'll give you
round
our 2026 first round pick for T. Higgins right now, please. I don't think that would have helped if any of them came in. Maybe Sweat, but the defense hadn't been the problem. So I don't know if any of those wide receivers.
They gotta figure out how to get some rhythm on offense.
What do you do mid-season to do that? Like, what do they need to change?
You run the ball. The easiest, best thing that you can figure out how to gain confidence up front is to run the ball. Do the things that are simple. The guy right there in front of you, block him, push him back 3 yards.
Yeah.
Win your assignment. Win your assignment. And when you do that good enough, then you start hitting some play action. Then when you do that good enough, you start running some outside plays. Do some jet sweeps. Do some bubble screens. And then you hit him over the top.
That's what he did well in college. That's what Bryce Young did well in college.
And going back to what you talk about Bryce Young in college, like him being on the move. Like that's what's really cool about these quarterbacks now. The quarterbacks that have, the freedom to move outside of the pocket, to create their own throwing lanes when they're under, distress in the pocket. Like I feel like he's pretty good at that. You know what I'm saying? Being able to, make things happen while he's on the run or he's feeling some pressure. It's the moments when he's being stuck in the pocket because he's like zeroed in on something, that he's either being coached to see develop and he's supposed to just wait on it. I don't know, but I mean, you just got to find some rhythm. And I feel like right now, obviously that's a struggle because not one thing is working for them.
It goes against why you draft Bryce Young, though, doesn't it? Like, don't you draft? I mean, because you're already going into it knowing the kid's 5'10" or whatever. He's not your prototypical quarterback. All accounts were that Frank Reich prefers bigger quarterbacks to begin with. Is he trying to do what he would do with a bigger quarterback with Bryce Young? Or is he trying to adapt his offense to Bryce Young and it's not working? Because whatever they're doing in the entire offense, the run game too.
Well,
it just
a lot of it too is like, we can going back to like the run game. Running game, to me, I'm a running back. If things are going bad, give me the ball. I want the ball. So I'm going to always speak from that vantage point. But in the passing game, when you're actually what do you see? Like, do you see our receivers being led with the pass, or do you usually see passes being thrown to their chest?
It's right to them.
Right straight to them, like they're supposed to be.
And what does that really mean, though? Right? He's accurate, but what does it really mean?
Guys can get
we're not getting separation. We're not getting separation. And so understanding that as a weakness right now, you got to figure out ways to get these guys in space, creating space for your receivers that can't do it on their own.
Yeah, that's the scheme. Yeah.
And so I think a little bit of it is just like understanding what you're working with. And just because your scheme is this, at some point you got to figure out a way to like find the layers that work. And, last year, case in point, coaching change and we were one way and then we went the complete opposite when Matt Rule went. You know what I'm saying? When Matt Rule left, we went the complete opposite, which was run, defense. Y'all better play y'all behind now. Because if not, you're not going to be. You know what I'm saying? So
was the offense better? Was the offense better with Matt Rule or with Frank Reich? Because I'm starting to sit here and think about.
I don't want to have no. He's not going there.
Because I thought about it.
Matt Rule.
You know what? I don't remember the offense being.
Let him be up there in Nebraska.
I don't remember the offense being like this at any point during Matt Rule. I remember being frustrated with like late game decisions and things like that, but I don't remember them really having a problem scoring.
There was different problems.
Yeah, it just. Yeah, this is like, like you go into the game expecting them not to be able to score more than
I think the big thing with this team in particular is it's like not necessarily the moment they get down, because if an opposing team goes down and scores right away, I mean, obviously the game's not over, but it just feels like the moment it gets to 10 or more, the game's out of reach, because this team is just not engineered to come from behind. They're just not. And it just feels like a 2-score game feels like a 5-score game.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you hit it on the head, because it does. It feels like when somebody's up by like 9 or whatever, it's so much of a huge uphill climb for us to get back into the game. Willie makes an excellent point. Matt Rule never made adjustments in the game. That was his thing. He never really adjusted from coming out of halftime. Like, they would still be doing the same thing. and then we end up losing the game from there. Mark Burke says, what do you do to fix the offense? Bring Wilkes back. That train is that ship has sailed. Like,
and Wilkes had nothing to do with the offense, other than he just went to Ben and said, run the damn football.
Yeah, Ben McAdoo is not here anymore. That's really who you're talking about coming back for the offense. Offensive coaching, blah, blah, blah. Look what Ryan is doing, Campbell in Detroit. They bring an identity to the team, to the offense, that the offense feeds off of. There is no identity for this team. We're 10 games in, and I can't describe what the identity of the 2023 Carolina Panthers is. They're not a run first team. They're not a spread team. They're not a pass first heavy team. They're not a defense led team. Like, what are they? Like, how would you describe this year's team? Like,
making really good points there, Desmond.
I mean, I had a long little mini bye week to think about it. Like, what are they? Like, I don't know what they're supposed to be. Even last year, we were telling people towards the end, we are a power run game, defensive squad. We're going to stop the run. We're going to run the football. Like, we're basic in terms of what we're doing. We're telling you what we're going to do. We're telling you what we're going to do. You have to stop it. Like, we're one of those kind of teams.
Well, we know what we're not. We're not a smash mouth football team.
Yeah, according to Frank Wright, we are not.
Which I'm not all the way like upset about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it's really just we are front row seat watching what the identity is going to become, I guess. So
that brings us to because I don't even know if we really need to preview Panthers Cowboys, because I don't know exactly how to go about doing that. I will say I saw JC Horn off of injured reserve. I don't know if we'll see him Sunday. His first assignment will be trailing CD Lamb all around, so good luck with that hamstring. I don't know if it's the right game to come back.
Here's a little roster math, and who knows, there could be moves that are made throughout the week, but they did release Jordan Matthews and Matthias Farley, so that opens up 2 roster spots, and Ian Thomas and JC both are designated return from IR. So 53 minus 1 or minus 2 is 51. You add those 2, you're back to 53. Maybe, but they could always elevate somebody, so I wouldn't
please.
I don't even know if it matters.
If JC ready to go, I'm excited to watch that.
I want to see JC Horn. Like, can we see JC Horn?
To watch him match up against CD, because CD out there collecting boys' rent, boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
He out there. He got like 3, 4, 500-yard games in a row, something like that.
Yeah, and Dak's playing exceptionally well right now too. Now, granted, Dallas can't beat the Eagles, and they can't beat the 49ers. And those are the 2 teams they need to worry about.
Cowboys is going to be good this year.
They can beat everybody else.
Man. Cowboys, man. The football of the United States of America.
We got receipts. We got receipts.
I was dog trashing the Cowboys this season, man. And
here I go. Lost to Arizona, like week 3, when you came in here with a smile on your face.
The funny thing is, though, we all know how this is going to end.
It's going to end. It's going to end bad. It's going to end bad.
They could lose in the first round to the Cowboys to the Vikings and Josh Dobbs, for all we know.
Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs.
Josh doing this.
Hey, a round of applause for Josh Dobbs.
I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't.
He must be like a rocket scientist or something, because football is just not hard to him.
Oh wait, he is.
Is he?
He came in like on a Saturday. He's
a rocket scientist.
He is legitimately a scientist of some sort. I don't remember.
Well, that
I think it actually is a rocket scientist.
So look, these quarterbacks, they better start getting some degrees in some rocket science engineering or something.
He learned the Vikings playbook in like a lunch hour and went in and just.
He's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Right here.
Right on the NFLPA.com. Josh Dobbs, athlete and rocket scientist.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Astronaut.
He's a astronaut.
So, I mean, see, and you look at that, you see the Vikings, you're like, okay, they lose their starting quarterback to injury, season-ending injury. What happens? Josh Dobbs falls out of the sky, and they might be better.
They lost Jefferson, too.
Huh?
They lost Jefferson, too.
Oh, yeah,
Jefferson's been gone.
Isn't he about to come back, though, like in a week or two or something?
Josh Dobbs probably was like, ooh, man, sorry, Kirk Cousins. You're a really good guy, but I'm going to take this job from you.
I'm taking it from you. You made
all
all
go
that.
ahead and transition you on out.
So before we get out of here, I'm going to start bringing it up. Harbaugh watch. I'm bringing it back because to me, the stars are aligning. The stars are aligning, gentlemen. Like, Jim Harbaugh's going to be in the NFL next year. Like, he's going to be in the NFL. Why not us? Yeah. Why not us? Like, clear everything out. My understanding the reason why he didn't get here because he wasn't going to get.
I don't think the Carolina Panthers can take another head coach hiring situation like that.
I think they want another head coach hiring. I think that's the whole thing. That the fan base wants this.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think we'll see Frank Reich. I think we'll still see Frank Reich, and I think, we'll look back on this day. We'll be like, man, we went through a hard time, but man, it worked out. Like just a hard time, everybody.
5 years of hard times. Oh my gosh. Willie says Wilkes set the identity in the middle of the season. Frank Reich has not set the identity. First ever wide receiver in NFL history, 10 plus catches and 150 plus yards in 3 consecutive games. CD Lamb.
Shout out to Michael Davis for the
he's a Cowboys
fan
right
there.
Yeah, that's.
Are you a Cowboys fan, Michael?
Yeah, he's a Cowboys fan. He's on Tobacco Road.
You out here trolling us.
No, he's legit. He's legit. I'm trying to figure out who we have in the secondary. They're gonna put Dante Jackson on him.
JC, if he's healthy.
JC Horn. I'm telling you, man, JC out there, we got a chance.
Willie says no to Harbaugh as a Panthers coach. Why, Willie? Why can't we have Jim Harbaugh? Why?
Man, I don't want another college coach.
Dude, if he was in the NFL this
Sunday, was in the NFL before.
He would have.
He went to college for a reason.
He has the highest win percentage of all.
But he went to college because he wanted to control.
And that's why he's not here, apparently, because he wanted more control over everything. And it was right after the Matt Rule situation. But
we don't need control freaks.
I'd rather have
delegators.
I'd rather have him picking the offensive line and stuff than a Matt Rule or a Frank Reich. Like, at least I know what Harbaugh's identity is going to be. Everywhere he's gone, it's been the same. They're going to pick the lines, they're going to build those right, and they're going to play power.
No,
whether it's Carolina or not, there's going to be a lot of teams out to get Bobby Slowick at the Houston OC.
Ooh, yeah, because they ain't supposed to be doing.
Or is it Bobby? Is it Bobby or Ben Slowick? I can't remember. I know it starts with a B.
Bobby sounds great. I like the name Bobby.
You're like, you can call me whatever you want if you give me a job. Yeah, this just in. Bills just fired Ken Dorsey.
Ooh-wee.
Panther.
Man.
Quarterback coach.
It is Bobby, by the way.
It's a bad day.
Hey,
something going on with them Bills. Yeah. Hey, listen to me. I'm mad about this.
Oh, there we go. Oh, wait, I lost it. Where's my thing? I wasn't ready. I lost it. I don't know where it is.
I'm going to tell you why I'm mad. So I'm going to tell you why I'm mad, son.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, let me tell you why
Tell you why we mad, son.
All right, look. Josh Allen. This is news, right? Ken Dorsey. Clearly, they blaming Ken Dorsey for Josh Allen's woes right now. All right, so Josh Allen threw 3 picks last night, right? 2 of them, which I would say, what were you doing? And, I get it. Like, downfield passes picked off. At least you trying to make a play, I guess. But we've been seeing this from Josh Allen since last year, right?
Yeah.
So it sucks that Ken Dorsey getting fired for all this, but maybe he does have something to do with it. I don't know. But
wow.
The thing is, what just happened?
Adam Schefter's reporting Bill's new interim offensive coordinator will be Joe Brady.
Wow.
Full
circle moment. Full circle moment. Carolina Panthers North.
This opens up the door potentially for Brian Daboll to return as the Bills OC next year if he gets fired Now, I don't know if you can really blame them because they've had so many injuries this year.
My thing is, though, you got all these mistakes going on, and you still in the game. You could have won the game. All the woes and everything.
Yeah.
Defense. I knew the situation that was about to perform as far as the offense getting off the field, special teams coming on the field. What were you doing as a coaching staff, not having your guys on defense prepared to have 11 guys on the field?
Yeah.
12 men on the field in a pivotal moment in the game like that where the kick goes right. But they get a second chance to kick the field goal because your behind had too many people on the field. Now, you can blame it on the player that was out there that had no business being out there. But just like the Denver Broncos regrouped and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. Make sure y'all get out the field. Defense should have been doing the same thing. Hey, look, you, when the play is over, I need you to run off the field. And hey, you, special teams guy, you're going to be up. So be ready. You know what I'm saying? Like just the details, right? So the Buffalo Bills, they're not their coaching staff right now they are responsible for reiterating the details.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The things that guys are not necessarily thinking about on the day-to-day, such as this special teams moment in a football game, right? Those are things that you rehash on Saturday walkthroughs. So those are things that you rehash, the Sunday before, the morning of the game.
Yeah.
These are things that you rehash on certain days, and you got to make sure guys are paying attention to these details. We did it all the time on Saturday. Saturday night, Coach Skip always had us go through a long list of things that never happened. And we always said to ourselves, man, ain't none of this going to happen in the game. Not this game. But you want to know what? When they did happen, we were prepared.
Right.
And so I'm mad that the Bills lost because poor coaching. That's how I'm going to label it.
And you really, there's no other way to kind of frame it because it really was a coaching issue. I mean, that's something you see like in high school.
Yeah, it's the details, bro. And so you see Ken Dorsey today. Clearly, he must have not been on the details of, hey, don't throw it when it's this look. Don't throw that. We don't want you to do that. Don't do it. When you see him right there, I don't want you to challenge the ball just to go drop in the middle of two defenders with 3 yards of space. I don't want that.
So
don't throw it to the Broncos.
Don't throw it to the Broncos. So a weird way to end this Bleav in Panthers episode with breaking news of former Panthers, Ken Dorsey, who was the quarterback coach here, primarily with Cam Newton, no longer the offensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills. Joe Brady, who was the passing coordinator here under Matt Rule, now is the new offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Carolina taking on the Dallas Cowboys Sunday. I did not get a chance to go and get the info so right before we get out of here, let me go ahead and give you guys what you need for that. So Panthers 1 o'clock Sunday at home taking on the Dallas Cowboys. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox. So you can definitely check that out. Schuyler had to get out. He had a meeting at 11:30. We're about to bounce too. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Of course, presented by Bet Online. We'll be back next Tuesday with a recap of Panthers Cowboys. We'll see at that point if there's any news to discuss in terms of staff changes or anything that might go on over the next 7-8 days. Let's get a Panther win. It felt good when we won a couple weeks ago. I want to get that feeling again. I don't know if it's going to happen, but let's see if we can get one. So
I believe in this.
I want to believe. I want to believe, but they're making it so hard.
Do you believe?
I'm trying.
Yes.
I'm trying. So for Schuyler Callihan, for Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Keep pounding, y'all.